1. So this is less about my landlord and more about my roommates. I'm a 22-year-old male, lived with 4 guys and the occasional roommate's girlfriends. Things were never great, but this situation spiraled out of control when one roommate wanted his brother to move in with us. We had a room, but we had no idea how those two would act once living together. They both lifted, a lot, every day like 6 meals a day, and they were huge. Their personalities over the weeks and months became more and more intense. This was the age of one home phone, and I had a small roofing business set up, one-man crew, and I would get calls at the house. I'd ask if messages could be taken when I wasn't available. All they had to do was write a name and number on a whiteboard and I'd follow up. One evening I came home and asked about a message I couldn't read. Next thing I know, I've got the whiteboard ripped off the wall, and both these muscle-bound freaks are chasing me. One had a damn bat down the stairs to my area of the house. Once down the stairs, I had little to defend myself aside from just turning and facing them and forcing something. They threw the whiteboard at me and threatened me with the bat if my expectation was for them to take messages. I survived, but was very shaken. I brought this up with my other roommates and agreed something had to be done. Revenge is sweet. I decided to go have a meeting with the property management company and just lay it all out there. I detailed what happened and offered a solution. Evict us, all of us. Just mail us a letter to get the fuck out and we'll clean and fix the place and we'll all move out. Then after everyone is gone, I'll pull back in with my other 2 roommates and move back in. The plan required some work, but me and the other roommate were all in to get these other 3 out. If you're counting that means there was another one we wanted out as well, you'd be right. The other roommate was a pig and didn't clean anything, so we took the opportunity to get him out as well. The letter arrived and we all bitched and bitched about having to find other places to live, clean, fix holes, due to the whiteboard incident, etc. But these 2 muscle-bound dudes pitched in and helped. I moved all my crap into a trailer in the driveway and waited for everything to be moved out. The last day of the month came and they were all gone. They had found a new apartment together and I moved back in with one roommate and I got the lease moved into my name. We looked for acceptable new roommates and found a good few guys and all was good. I heard from a common friend that the 2 brothers found out rather quickly that it was all a setup to get them out. They were pissed. I couldn't have been happier. Honestly, it was one of the greatest feelings I've ever had. Assholes finally got what they deserved. That said, it was a rather small town and I was kind of freaked out for several months that they'd show up at the house or I'd see them out. I could run a lot faster, but damn if they managed to get a hold of me. 2. I was 9, and my first and only baseball season had ended without a single win. Dejected, I stood contemplating and fingering the deep brown leather lace on my glove, staring at the large wooden patch of thorn bushes and undergrowth that divided our property from the neighbor's unused pasture. I threw the glove to the ground, kicked it, picked it up, threw it down again. Then, in a rage, "Fuck baseball!" I sent the glove flying end over end into the thicket, and it disappeared with a crackle of branches and a soft thud. Surely it was gone forever. I was 12, and 7th grade was hard enough without my insane mother rifling through my bedroom, absolutely convinced I was on drugs over a D in math. After a few hours, she took a breath to pour another glass of Costco wine. Seeing my opportunity, I managed to smuggle my porn stash of magazines and VHS tapes past her and outside, away from prying eyes. "Here's your drugs, bitch," I smirked to myself as I tossed the sack of tits and ass end over end into the oblivion bush. There was no way she would find them. They were gone forever. I was 14, and my hypocrite weasel of a stepfather had once again grounded me for mouthing off. Really, it was because I had opened our dusty copy of the Bible, and a Polaroid of his mistress, dressed in nothing but a Santa hat, came tumbling out at my mom's feet. The jerk-off needed an excuse, I guess. Anyway, while they were busy screaming and spitting and breaking wedding pictures, and having their bi-weekly slapping match, I was locked in my room watching a documentary on the History Channel about psychological warfare. Due to my mom? Run me? Fuck you. I stood once again in front of the black hole thicket and remorselessly hurled his left slipper into it. Let me tell you, from that point forward, his left slipper went missing. A lot. And let me tell you that he blamed the dog. A lot. Sorry, Wags. Eat shit, Pat. I was 16, and homecoming had been a disaster. So there in the rain in my suit and bow tie, I dramatically threw my newly ex-girlfriend's corsage and my handful of expired wet condoms into the void. Gone forever, just like that relationship. I was 18, the summer after graduation, and with the parents on vacation, I seized my opportunity to have a gigantic party. Everyone was there. Everyone was drunk or high, and everyone threw their bottles into the bush because, evidence. The night went off without a hitch, and the parents were none the wiser. I moved, went to college, got married, we had a son. I was 34 when I moved home with my family to rent my childhood home and help out my mom with the house repairs and the massive mess of yard work the previous renters had left. Wouldn't you know it, clearing out that thicket was on the list. This last summer, I was 38, when my 8-year-old son walked up to me, rotting slipper and baseball glove in hand. "What's this? I found it on Trash Hill," he asked. "Oh, son, that's just a pile of your dad's petty childhood revenge," I said, cracking a beer. "I'll give you $5 to clean all that shit up and not tell your grandma." Deal. Best $5 I ever spent. 3. When I was a college student in the 80s, I accepted a job as a second-shift computer operator at a large regional bank. The job duties were processing all the checks and payments, printing statements and checks, running all the backups, and so on. On the day I showed up for the job, I learned that I wasn't getting that job, but a lower one which physically loaded the check readers, loaded printer paper, signed checks, burst forms, and so on. The lead computer operator had apparently threatened to quit if they didn't promote internally and give the job to one of the current people in the position I just ended up in. They later got married, so you can probably figure out her actual motive. But the department manager, Mr. Biggs, my boss's boss, told me that I would be promoted to computer operator as soon as anyone left the position. You guessed it, 2 years later no one has left the position, and we acquired another regional bank. Our CEO told the CEO of the acquired bank that no employees would be fired. Suddenly, we had an extra computer operator on every shift. But Mr. Biggs insisted I still get promoted because he knew I was the most computer-literate employee they had. Something he used to his advantage in numerous side projects, which should have been paid at a much higher rate. 6 months later, one of the computer operators finally transferred to the programming department. I asked Mr. Biggs to promote me to the position, and he told me he was working on it. A few months later, he finally tells me that they still have too many computer operators because of the acquisition, and I wouldn't be promoted until more of them left. Clearly this wasn't working, so a few months later, another position opens in the programming department, and I apply for it. Mr. Biggs signed the form allowing me to apply and wished me luck. The interviews went well, and programming wanted to hire me, but a few days later the computer operator who transferred there told me, privately, that Mr. Biggs went to the head of programming and asked him not to consider me for the position because I was his best employee and he couldn't afford to lose me. The head of programming told him, "No, I'm going to hire the best person for the job." The next morning, the HR director calls me to say that one of the executive vice presidents wants to interview me for the position. She's flabbergasted because he's never asked to interview anyone of that level and couldn't explain why he wanted to now. After the interview, the HR director called me, apologized profusely, and told me they were giving the position to another candidate because he had a college degree. No, it wasn't related to the position in any way. The degree was from an unaccredited college, which had actually asked me to teach computer courses there, which I'd turned down. Of course, I knew what had really happened, so I told the HR director that I hadn't realized how important a degree was, and that I would immediately switch to part-time instead of full-time, so I could take more hours of classes to finish my degree more quickly. There are no part-time positions in Mr. Big's department, so it meant transferring to the department run by his biggest competitor within the company. She transferred me immediately at the same pay I was making in the previous department, and I never worked for Mr. Biggs again. 4. This happened a couple of years ago. I, a 28-year-old female, was dating Max, who was 29, for 5 years. We were full on together. We lived together, shared finances, had 2 dogs, etc. My best friend Amy, 28, lived 10 minutes away, so we were always with each other. We were pretty much the 3 musketeers. One day I'm scrolling on Instagram and I see my boyfriend in the background of a picture posted to our local bars page. He was supposed to be at work, and I'd never been given a reason not to trust him, so I figured it was an older picture as we go there a couple times a month. But when he got home, he was wearing the same blue button-up jeans. I had a horrible feeling in my stomach, but I didn't say anything. That night I went through his phone. Yeah, I know, but I don't care. We always shared passwords, and he never had an issue with using each other's phones. When I checked his messages, I saw a chain with someone named Jack. We didn't know a Jack, so I read through them, and my heart just fucking breaks. I've known my best friend since we were in diapers. I know how she texts. But I checked the number just to be sure, and yep, they were talking behind my back. Not just talking, though, there were pictures and mentions of sexual acts that had happened. I spent the night crying and sending myself all of the screenshots and everything I could find. By morning, I realized that I just can't confront them. I need to prepare. So I set out to put money aside. I tell him our fridge is broken, so I'm using some of our savings to fix it. We need a plumber for this or a handyman for that. All lies, but I needed a reason to pull money out of the account we both had access to. It took me 2 months, but I was able to pull enough out to put a deposit and pay a couple of months in advance on a new apartment that I found that was closer to work and pet-friendly. I was able to slowly move stuff there while he was at work. I told him I was doing some spring cleaning to clear out the clutter. In the meantime, I fucked with their heads. I'd mentioned things about each other that would cause drama, like telling Max that Amy talked about a cute guy from work, or telling Amy that Max mentioned marriage and kids with me. She's infertile due to a childhood illness. The day before I was leaving, I set my plan into motion. I knew where my best friend went for lunch most days of the week, so I watched and waited. When she arrived, I went in and pretended I didn't want to throttle her for breaking my trust in my heart. We sat down and chatted, and I slyly mentioned sex with Max. In their messages, she told him that she didn't want him to sleep with me. Apparently, she'd become quite possessive of my boyfriend. I made comments about how sore I was because we did it rough, just like I like it. How good he was at oral, you name it, I mentioned it. Her face got redder and redder, and it was amazing to watch. I'd seen her react that way before, but I never realized why. She'd always insist on watching late-night movies with us, or ask to sleep on our couch instead of going home, and be mad when I had to say no, that I want my privacy with my boyfriend. I just thought she was lonely or a little clingy, but I never would have imagined she didn't want to leave because she wanted to make sure we weren't having sex. Later that day I go home, and once again pretended that everything is normal. But I sit down on the couch with him and snuggle up with him while he watches TV. After about 20 minutes I straddle him and ask him how his day was and blah blah blah. Then I bring up that I ran into Amy at lunch, and you'll never guess who she was with. I told him how Amy was with Dave, her real-life co-worker that has hung out with us multiple times, and how it's so cute that they're dating now. When I say he froze, I don't think he even breathed. He just sort of muttered, "I didn't know she was seeing someone." So I tell him all about how I caught them kissing, and after Dave left to go back to work, Amy told me all about their amazing sex life. And of course, I had to add in there that Dave was the first guy to ever give her a real O, and how she's always had to fake it with guys before. I've never seen him look so dejected before. That night I asked that we do a phone-free night, which we do often so that we could be in our own bubble. I could tell he was a little hesitant, but he turned off his phone and put it in the basket we use for it. We watched a movie and cuddled on the couch, and he stayed as stiff as a board for the majority of it, before he relaxed enough to fall asleep on the couch. Once he was out, I grabbed his work phone and sent out a contact-wide list email about how I may be in a bad mood for the next couple of weeks because my mistress gave me the clap. Then I changed the passcode on it and turned it off. I knew that he wouldn't turn it on until he got to his work site that was 40 minutes away. As soon as he was out the door, I immediately packed my bags, important papers, and the dogs, and I left. I also unscrewed the light bulbs, took the batteries out of the remote, took the router plug in so he wouldn't have Wi-Fi, and cranked the AC up to 80 Fahrenheit. When I got to my new place, I sent her a text asking how my pussy tastes, and then blocked them both. Then I posted screenshots to my Facebook and let everyone know what horrible people they were. 5. I have been waiting for a return to be collected going on 3 days. In South Africa, we don't leave anything outside as it will be stolen. You have to be present to collect or give a parcel. I logged the return on a Saturday and received a message they will collect it before 5 p.m. on Monday. I had a doctor's appointment, so I requested the driver to come later. He gave me such attitude and never pitched. I received the same message for Tuesday, only no driver at all. I received a message that they tried to collect from me, but it failed. Bull, man, they did not even come. Now it's the second day gone, where I have to wait around for a driver to not pitch. It's now day 3 and I'm livid. The message about the fake attempt sent me over. I contacted the company and complained, and the agent sent me the same damn message about it being collected before 5 p.m. that I've already been sent. I felt like he didn't take my complaint seriously or understood why I can't wait around all day anymore. 3 days of not being able to run errands, worrying about meetings being interrupted. I offered to change the option to dropping it off, but they refused. So when the email to give feedback arrived, I gave him a bad report. I felt that they didn't take the complaint seriously, and that the least they could do was ensure the driver arrived first thing, to collect or give me an ETA. He then emailed me to tell me my feedback wasn't fair, and that I should give him a more fair feedback, as he feels he did his best to help me. His best. By just emailing me the same message I'd already received 3 times. So I complied. I gave him the feedback he actually deserved. His best. How is telling me the same thing I have been told for 3 days now the best? The best would be to get off his ass, pick up the phone, and send the driver to my address first thing. He could have taken the attitude the driver gave me seriously and apologized for it and for the delay. He did not. He could have understood that I couldn't put my life on pause for a 3rd day to wait for a driver and at least gotten an ETA from the driver. Yeah. I also changed the feedback heading from Issue Unresolved to Agent Had a Bad Attitude. The cheek to tell me to give him a more fair review when my initial one wasn't even unfair or over the top. So he got an even more fair one. I just want my parcel collected, my refund processed, so that I can buy another item to replace it. Why a driver had to cause so much drama, only he will know. And now an agent made it worse. Said agent has not emailed me since. However, within an hour the driver pitched up. Outcome accomplished. Was I being a Karen? Yes. Do I care? No. I am not unnecessary and will complain when it's warranted. But today I got petty, and yes, his job is at risk, but maybe now he will understand what actually doing his best really means. Hellfreezer's note, I don't think they're being a Karen in this case. They had a legitimate problem that people refused to solve. And when they were given the gentlest of honest feedback, demanded a fair review and got exactly what they asked for. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge is Ice Cream, episode 192. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. If you could very kindly please hit the like button before you go, I would appreciate it. And please share the video with friends and family if you'd be so good. Okie dokie, we are midweek? No, we're not. It's Tuesday. As of recording. Okay, well, I think this goes up at Wednesday. Okay, let's see. No shout-outs. If you do have a shout-out, you can send that to kingofthecities@gmail.com. If you click on the show more in the description, that'll give you all the Hellfreezer-related links, email being one of them, and there's a bunch of other stuff as well you may want to check out. But, apart from that, let's move right on to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And continuing on from one I asked earlier in the week about misunderstanding the meanings of songs, what is like a name or a word or something you've heard and misused and mispronounced much of your life because you heard it when you were younger, that you then as an adult realized, oh right, that's a completely different thing. Like I did a birthday shout out on the 8th of November there, and I know now and have known for many years, but when I was younger I thought Gilbert and Sullivan, the song I sang, I thought that was a guy called Gilbert O'Sullivan, an Irish fellow named Gilbert O'Sullivan. Wrote great musicals. Then one day, I don't remember when it was, but one day it just clicked. Oh, right, it's two people. Well, all right then. Doesn't really change my life knowing that, but it's one of those things where you feel kind of silly for a moment. You think, of course it is. That makes perfect sense. I mean, it's like Rodgers and Hammerstein. You never thought that was a guy called Roger Hammerstein, or maybe somebody did. No judgment. But let me know what some of yours are, some of your misunderstandings, mishearings that you carried with you for a while until one day it finally clicked. I look forward to reading your answers in a comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.